going on, guys? So today we're back with another Pokemon Masters video, and today we're actually going to be going over 5 reasons that I think you should just drop Pokemon Masters right now. By nature, this video is going to be extremely opinionated. These are my opinions. These are the reasons that I get frustrated with Pokemon Masters, or things that I just generally don't understand the developers' intentions with some of these points. It just racks my brain as to why they chose to do this rather than anything else that's been done in the past. But with that being said, these are some points that are fairly negative towards the game. I will be doing another video in a couple of days talking about the top 5 reasons to continue playing Pokemon Masters, because just like everything, I feel like there are some serious criticisms that this game can learn from, but there are some really good highlights that this game should be celebrated for. I also do want to iterate that these are not in any particular order. Well, they're in the order that I wrote them down, but there's no like severity rating or like most hated or anything like that. This is just random order, okay? So with that being said, let's actually get to our first point here, which is actually the heavy amount of grinding that you have to do versus the payoff that you get for it. You basically just grind, and you get these small little rewards. And generally, at least for the other gacha game that I've played, Dragon Ball Legends, you at least get something decent for most of the grind. Like, I mean, there's certain things in Dragon Ball Legends where you grind out like 100 levels and you get like 1,000 gems. And I mean, that's insane. Now, the way that the gems would work between the two games, Pokemon Masters definitely holds their gems to a lot higher of a standard, so 1,000 gems for them would be like one multi-pull. At least if you grinded all the way through this event that had these insane bosses that you had to battle and you got through it, you at least get a free multi-summon off of it, which is great. In Pokemon Masters, it's a little bit different. You get a sync pair to level 100, you may get a training manual. Okay. For logging in for 30 days, you get 10 gems. So just the nature of like playing the game, what should keep people interested in playing this game, it just doesn't pay off like nearly as much as it should and as much as it could compared to other games. It just doesn't. And that's kind of frustrating at times, because you go through an entire event and you grind out a ton of vouchers and all you get are, you know, a replay ticket and some level 5 power star boost things, and that's basically it. Our next thing that we're actually going to talk about is the event structure. So this one is kind of weird for me. Basically, the only thing that I can really compare Pokemon Masters to is other things in the Pokemon IP, which doesn't really have a whole lot to really go off of, especially things that I myself have played. I never played Pokemon Quest, never played any of that, so Pokemon Go doesn't really equate here at all. So really the only thing that I kind of have to go off of is other gacha games, and the only other gacha game I've ever played is Dragon Ball Legends, so I'm going to be making quite a few references to that. But I think the point still stands here, because in Pokemon Masters, every week, it seems, it's like every 13 days or every 27 days or something like that. I haven't really figured that out. I thought maybe every like first of the month we'd get this crazy new big event with a big featured banner, and that would kind of be our thing, but it's not really working out to be like the first of every month. It seems like they may be doing like a 13 period cycle throughout the year. Either way, the event structure is crazy. It's really weird. So we get this one big event which has a storyline attached to it. Our most recent one here has been the Hilda event, the girl in black and white. And we get like these, you know, vouchers for completing portions of the event, and those vouchers can be exchanged for items. That's okay, great, fine and dandy. Of course, the exchange and, you know, the actual items that you get off of it, like we talked about in our first point, are kind of poor. But hey, I'm okay with that for now. The problem is that we have this one big event that goes all the way to the end of the month. It's supposed to last an entire 4 weeks, or give or take, whatever, but you can finish it in like 2 hours. If you sat down and you played, it would take you like 2 hours to finish this event, which just seems so not worth it. It's almost worthless. Like I just, it's not fun. Like, yeah, it's fun when I play it, but what am I supposed to do for the rest of the month? Nothing. Well, hang on. Here's what they've got for you. On weeks 2, 3, and 4 of the 4-week period that this big event is going to be available, you have all these like smaller miniature events. The problem with that though is that these also only take like an hour to really complete, and you basically, you don't even really do anything during these events. You literally fight a few single player events and you fight a few co-op events, and then they just say, okay, grind out the rest of the tickets so you can buy whatever you want from the exchange shop. Woo! Like that's kind of it. The event structure, I like the occurrence of the events. I like how it's one every week that we get something. I like that aspect of it. But the amount that we have to do during the events is rather lackluster. And I guess you could kind of like tie this all back to just a lack of content for this point. It's very underwhelming whenever I like log in and I'm ready to go get this new, character. I'm gonna, scout for this new trainer, and like I spend, a few hundred gems or a few thousand gems or whatever I spend on it. I don't get it. Oh, it's a bummer. But man, at least I can fall back on this cool little storyline and still get to play that character for 15 minutes. That's it. Come on. So our next thing is that Pokémon Masters, while it is a little unique, it actually strays away from the core series in quite a few ways that are kind of frustrating. The whole single typing idea, just like the card game, if you by chance just don't know, like in the TCG, whenever you have a Pokemon card, it generally is one typing, except for a couple of sets that did this weird dual typing thing. It's basically one typing. Dragonite can be dragon, Dragonite could be meow. It's got to be one or the other though. And in Pokemon Masters, they bring that back, and that's actually kind of an interesting concept, except they kind of took it a step further than that. They not only gave it only one typing. Most Pokemon only have one type move. Okay, I can get behind that. If we only have one typing, then we're probably going to be that typing in terms of our damage output or what have you. That's the type of move that we're basically going to have. Kind of goes in hand there. Great. Even in the TCG, we have weaknesses, which there's generally only one weakness to that Pokemon card. And we also still have a resistance. But in Pokemon Masters, we don't have a resistance. So it gets to be this weird thing where like the entire time that I have played any type of Pokemon game, any of the core series games, any TCG, even Pokemon Go has resistances in it. Which is this weird thing where it's like, I've been taught this my entire life and now I just forget about it. And I guess you could make the argument that, hey, at least that makes it less things that you have to really account for whenever you go in with a specific strategy. Yeah, okay. But it kind of takes out some of the more interesting, like, the team building aspect of it, like having a team that can completely wall the enemy, or having a team that has like a general great coverage because of its resistances. Like, I kind of miss that aspect. I wish there was just more depth to it than just what there is currently. Only one typing. Basically one type of move per Pokemon, which I'm sure that can be easily fixed in future Pokemon. Future, sync pairs are gonna have different type moves and whatever. Like, that's all great, grand, and fancy, but it's just kind of lackluster, unfortunately. I really wish that there was more depth. So our next thing that we're actually gonna talk about is, I feel like this is probably the most controversial one on the list. It's the fact that this game is, for whatever reason, it seems to be focused a lot on a pay-to-win strategy. No, I know. Hear me out. So there's this whole thing where you get free 5-star sync pairs throughout the story. You get a decent amount of gems whenever you start the game, whenever you re-roll, whatever. You get a decent amount of gems to obtain a few trainers to actually work with. But there are some aspects of the game that seem really tedious, and I know this is just kind of the way that gacha goes, and if you don't have a unit, then you have to kind of rely on the units that you do have to complete certain aspects of it. But when you get into the aspect of let's bring these people together to accomplish one goal, it really makes it kind of difficult to push that aspect of the game whenever you are putting so much emphasis on a character that you can't get unless you scout for. So there are tons of these EX missions that become increasingly difficult when you don't have certain sync pairs. And if you by chance go in with a bunch of randoms and you flat out just don't have anyone on the team that has a decent sync pair, I mean, you're kind of stuck, and that's really crappy. Like, that's just, it just blows my mind that that's a way that they have come up with to kind of incentivize you to pay more money to get the sync pairs that are actually going to help you out. And yes, I know that happens even in Dragon Ball Legends. There are certain missions, there are certain events that you just flat out have to literally sink hours into because you can't beat it unless you have these certain units. You have to at least be extremely freaking good at the game, have some insane stroke of luck, or pay some money to have these new units added to your arsenal so that you can have these, you know, boosted damage and, you know, sustained damage cuts and all these crazy things to help you win. And it's scummy. And I got to the point where I really hated Bandai and Dragon Ball Legends and, you know, that whole side of things, because I felt like they were being scummy and they were being greedy. And at this point, I really feel like DNA has started out really greedy. And it's not like at the very beginning they dumped all this stuff on us and they were like, all right, now you've got, you know, 10 hours worth of gameplay, you've got, you know, enough gems to fill out most of the Pokedex, let's say 75% of the Pokedex. There you go, enjoy our game for the next month before we start trickling out some more content for you. That's not how it ended up happening. Like, it literally was like, all right, here's enough gems to get you like a couple of sync pairs. If you play for, you know, 2 full weeks or 3 full weeks or whatever that initial like launch celebration login bonus was, here's enough gems to get you like 1 full multi-summon. And then here's about like 4 hours of gameplay we're gonna trickle out to you. And then on this next update, we're gonna give you another hour of gameplay. Here you go. Wait till next month until we get you going. I don't like it. I just don't like it. So back to the original aspect of this point is that there is a lot of emphasis on certain parts of the end game. I don't know for a fact. I might have to try this on my own. I don't know for a fact if you can get all the way through the entire storyline using no gacha units, using no units that you would pull throughout the entire storyline, only using those characters that you get from each chapter. If you have done that, please let me know, but otherwise, I feel like once you get towards the end game, once you get to chapter 17 and 18, once you start getting into the co-op side of the game, you're relying on other people. If you get matched up with people that are just as unlucky as you are and don't have this specific unit, then you just kind of have to write it off as a loss, and it's a huge waste of time. I mean, yeah, you can just quit, you can back out and go back to the menu. There's no penalty for quitting in co-op. Like, it's not like it's that big of a deal, but it's just the principle of things that makes it so frustrating. And the last thing kind of ties into a little bit about what we just talked about is there's some really awkward pacing in the game. So something that, I didn't even notice this when I first played it, but I was reading a thread on Reddit and there was this thing where this guy was like, you know, it's kind of awkward that they set us up as soon as you start the game, as soon as you jump into the story mode, you get in with Brock and Misty and you have your Pikachu and then you meet Rosa and then you go through this entire chain of chapters that teach you like, okay, you've got 3 sync pairs. You've got 3 different characters that you control. This middle character does this character does that, and that character does that. And then you chain all these things together to get a sync move. You pound out that sync move, you destroy the enemy Pokemon, and you win. Yes! perfect. And then you get past chapter 10, 12, whatever it is, you unlock co-op, and they take all of that back. They're like, wait a minute, no. This time, you get to choose 3 sync pairs, but it's way slower. You can't choose what the opposite characters do. You can only control your 3 sync pairs, but you only get to control 1 at a time. It takes an eternity for you to switch into your next Pokemon. It takes an eternity to get your sync move. It just slows the pacing down so much. It makes no sense why that was their end game result. Like, why would you set us up to be so fast-paced, so real-time in terms of our moves and our actions? Let's dump out time to energize. Let's throw out another discharge. Let's push out these moves, get our sync move, and win. And then all of a sudden, you get thrown into co-op, and you're like, discharge just went through. Nice. Discharge. Like, I mean, seriously, like, you literally, it's just awkward, okay? Co-op in itself is fun. I do find it enjoyable. Single player in itself is fun. I find it extremely enjoyable. But when you set it up the way that it was set up to just learn all of the aspects of the game and then just completely strip it away, and you have to learn all these other things in a totally similar manner but totally different manner at the exact same time, it's just a head scratcher, man. Like, that just, I just don't understand that. Now, maybe in the distant future, hopefully in the near future, there will be some sort of change, some sort of voice that can be heard. I don't know whose voice it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be from the players that are actively playing the game. I don't know if it's going to be from the lack of talk from the players that have already quit the game. I don't know if it's going to be from the sales that the game is losing because people are dropping out of this game like flies. Like, they're just leaving. They're done with it. They're bored. They're aggravated. They're frustrated. They just want to get out of it. And I don't blame them. I really don't. I don't blame anybody for quitting this game at this point. It's weird. It's an awkward game and a weird situation and an awkward point. Like, it's all frazzled right now. And you can kind of take it back and say, well, they just launched like a little over a month ago and they're still getting their feet on the ground and just starting to walk before they run. And okay, I'm with you. I'm in that boat because I also want to believe that they're just now starting to walk, getting ready to start taking off at full speed. Because I can tell you, in Dragon Ball Legends, when I first started playing that game, it was like 8 or 9 months ago, and at this point, actually it's probably closer to a year. Either way, at this point, that game is miles ahead of where it was a year ago. They've done things in Dragon Ball Legends that I never would have expected them to change because it changed a lot of the core mechanics of how it worked. And now they're going back to the drawing board and they're saying, well, Dokkan's beating us here. We gotta change this, we gotta change that. I mean, they're actually listening. They're still greedy, don't get me wrong. They still need to make money. I know DNA needs to make money too, but it's unfortunate because I'm so passionate about this game. I want this game to be so good. I want this game to thrive. I want this game to be everything that everybody wanted. Unfortunately, it hasn't lived up to as much of the hype as it got. When there were a ton of issues with Sword and Shield coming out, people were upset about the national decks, people were upset that the animations were crappy, that was their excuse for this and for that. Everyone kind of looked to Pokémon Masters, and then there was this huge hype for Pokémon Masters, like, oh my god, this game's gonna even be better than Sword and Shield. I'm more excited for Masters than I am for Sword and Shield. There were a ton of people out there that were so gung-ho on this game. And then all of a sudden, no 32-bit device support, crappy rewards, just weird decisions, awkward decisions. And I don't want to keep talking about it, but I know coming from the Pokemon Go world, there were a ton of issues that Niantic just couldn't implement things. They had to go through a huge chain of people, a huge chain of command to basically get the things that they wanted done inside of the Pokemon company, because it was technically their property that they were making a game for. So while DNA is developing a game for Pokemon, Pokemon has to actually like sign off on a lot of things that happen. I'm sure. I'm just guessing on that because of my other experiences, but I'm sure that's the way that it's going. I hope this, if anyone from DNA, from the Pokemon company, listens to any one of the entire world of people that want to play this game, you have to listen and expect us to want to love this game, because there's a ton of people who want to love it so much, but we fall short of wanting to keep this passion alive because there's just not enough there for us anymore. There's not enough content anymore. There's not enough gems to be had. There's not enough fun being had inside the game. And we've got to do something. We've got to do something. This game does not deserve to fall flat on its face. It doesn't. I think everyone can agree that it doesn't deserve that. It deserves much better. And I hope that in the future it will get much better. And in a follow-up video, I will talk about some things that I do enjoy greatly about this game, and we'll talk a little bit about those things as well. So I don't want this to be all negative. It's a two-parter, of course, so it'll be mainly negative now, a little bit of positive later. Either way, thank you guys for listening to me rant. That's basically what this was at this point. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll jump into our Sync Pair Scout here. So we basically just have two of these. Considering that I'm just going to go ahead and record the next part of this video, I'm just going to do one daily discount. Not going to spend a ton of gems right now. Don't really need to. Unfortunately, I don't have neither Hilda or Hilbert, so it'd be great to get either one of them at this point, but let's go ahead and throw that down. No flashy animation, so kicking it off with the exact same thing we usually get. Let's see what kind of antenna we got though. Just a 3-star antenna, so unfortunately not looking too great, but the doors, just 3-star doors, so we can basically skip that. So we got Rourke there, which adds another good old 3-star power up to my arsenal. So basically that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Finally, I know I've been ranting for, my computer says 30 minutes, so either way, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Now I will go ahead and play those ending credits for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you could do that, but if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below about the video. I do highly appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to support me in any way, there are several links down in the description for Patreon, joining the community here on YouTube, or even just directly PayPal if that's your thing. I greatly appreciate everyone's name that's on screen, as you guys have showed some sort of support outside of just viewing the videos, and I thank you guys. You don't understand from the bottom of my heart. So until our next video, guys, I will catch you then.